it's not about us against them here on this planet, and we need to just kind of get rid of that. But something's got to move us into that energetic. I know, here I'm singing to the choir, but as we look at what's going on around the world, and so, just hoping that more people step out of the control and the programming and allow themselves to navigate this experience from their hearts. And not to show anyone else anything, but to show themselves what that feels like. And then the rest of the world to be able to see that and acknowledge it and have that be the seed that helps everyone else blossom into what we're really here for.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, if we look around, you guys, all of us, we're the face of the new consciousness. I mean, just look around. We're just regular people, but we represent a movement towards a future where these possibilities are open and accepted. And I think, in a way, this is the new paradigm. We're here. We're living it. We're talking about it. We're exchanging about it. What do you say, Laura? What's that future look like for you and for the possible planet?
Well, I think the education has to start with understanding that we're very, very powerful creative beings, and we're in a multidimensional cosmos. We have powerful imaginations, and we can work with that to manifest our dreams into reality. And I like to look at it as like, putting instructions into your own internal GPS and operating from those instructions and not letting anything else get in. And giving people the free will choice to determine what are your passions, dreams, and visions, and teach them how to work with that power and that creativity, but also to remind each other or the education to be centered around understanding cosmic laws and natural laws, things about responsible free will and the responsible use of power and what the ramifications are if there is a misuse of power, not from religion, not from some sort of man-made structure or lower entity system of control, but from nature. We learn everything about that from nature. My background's in wilderness expedition leadership, so I saw instantly the results of somebody carrying a belief system or a thought form that wasn't in alignment with integrity, and how quickly the reflection would come back. And months and months and years of this, it's just like, okay, I get it. And I think that's really important. Now, when we think about it, our kids are learning about dinosaurs. Everybody's fine that T-Rex, rips people to shreds, or not people, sorry, other creatures. So is it really that far-fetched to talk about reptilians? It's because it's been kept from us. And once our adult mind develops to a certain state, then all of a sudden it's shocking. But we're shocked from the get-go. And we're told Santa Claus is real, and then we mourn the loss of that and recognize that that's not there. So I think we have to understand that we're powerful creative beings, and we're magical beings, and we need to learn how to work with the human vessel that we've been given and understand the properties of that vessel, our chakra systems, our galactic chakras, and how to learn how to operate this and have a sense of service. Now, the things that are imposed on us in the particular window period we're in, like transhumanism or chipping the human population or spraying our skies, the things we didn't vote for, to get to the future that I envision where we're going to be sovereign beings and learning how to operate our advanced human vessels, is to take these people down. And that's my mission right now, is to educate people about who these candidates are so that they do not go and vote for them, so that we can start paying attention to what we've got, because we're all leaders, we all have gifts, and enough with feeding the parasites, because we know better.
Yeah, thank you. I think. James, so the people and the creatures and the beings that inhabit your world and universe, how do we create a free exchange and open forum so we can, embrace it? So it doesn't have to be just at your ranch that people go to see them, but it's a planetary communion, if you want to call it that.
We actually have an exclusive on God and E.T. at the
You
ranch.
do.
So.
James's ranch, East Eddie.
Just kidding, just kidding.
Okay.
If you hear that, run away. Hide your wallet. But, basically what we've done at the ranch, it was my dream to create a template of a place that was living in harmony with each other and nature and living a spiritual life, and a place where we could engage these higher dimensional beings and work in harmony with them, and an exchange where we could exchange consciousness and energy and technology that was, user friendly, that would help us restore the earth, and that's been my dream, and it's unfolding right now because everything is coming together, and it's just amazing what's happening there. My vision of the future would be to see us actually walking alongside of these different beings, these feline beings that look just like us, but they might look a little fur and ears in the wrong place, but or the right place for them. But anyway, but that's been my dream, and in order to get to there, we have to master our fear, and we have to remember who we are and walk in our own divinity. And one of the most powerful things, I was downloaded a song. I'm not a songwriter. I've never written a song before, but this Anunnaki being, a ninth dimensional being, came in and gave me this song, and I wrote it out in perfect verse, and I gave it to the Outback Gypsies who were there, and it's going up the charts. I don't know where it is in Australia. It's insane. But some of the verses in this song, they started out and they said, we built your ancient temples. We're here to right a wrong. And they said, we're here, they want us to lead ourselves from our own heart and soul, and that's why they're here. They're not here to be worshipped. They're not here to take anything. They're not here to take our gold. And that's the whole thing, that we have to learn to lead ourselves, make our own personal God-spirit connection, whatever you want to call it, and operate from the heart and operate out of unity consciousness. And there is a massive wave of energy coming through the planet right now. It's exponential. It's increasing. Anything that doesn't align with unity consciousness, that's not operating within universal law, is imploding. And so a lot of the regenerate ETs have already been removed. Their puppets on the earth are imploding. Their empires are collapsing. People aren't serving them anymore. And people are walking away, and I'm part of this process on levels that I can't even talk about. And so it's happening. Planetary liberation is going to happen. In the next 2 years, you're going to see amazing things that you could never dream of. And a huge reunification. It's going to be unity consciousness coming back to the earth. And it's not just unifying with each other, it's unifying with the higher dimensional beings that are our ancestors that are back. And that's where we're moving to, and it's unstoppable. These little Illuminati boys, whatever you want to call them, they're done. They've lost their power. They've lost their connect. So their grid is over with. They don't even have a grid to hook into anymore. That whole grid is being torn down. There's a whole new consciousness grid coming in. So the good news is, that's what I look forward to, and that's what I've been working at for the past 30 years, is empowering the individual to walk tall in their own divinity, and remember who they are, and share with others, and planetary liberation, basically. And for us all to align with unity consciousness, because that's where we're going. And, the bottom line, resistance is futile. It's like, you can't stop this. It's too big. The force behind this is beyond your imagination. It can't be stopped. And so we can resist it, and we can keep, playing with the dramas and everything else as long as we want, but it's just going to make things rougher for us, So it's time to just learn to cooperate and work together in harmony, and take care of your brother and sister on here. It doesn't matter what color you are, we need to get along with the races here and unite and come together and deal with the tyranny that's created this separation game, and get rid of it. Because what are we going to do when somebody with blue skin shows up? And they got glyphs all over them, from Andromeda. What are you going to do when a little short dude shows up that looks like E.T.? We have photographs of these guys. They do exist. What are you going to do when somebody that just doesn't look anything like you shows up? We've got to master our fear and develop our inner sensitivity so we can sense the nature of this being, what their intention is, and learn to set boundaries. And we can do that. One thing I want to leave with everyone is that we have the ability to channel the love of the source itself through us, through our own heart, into any situation. And love is the ultimate power in the universe. and nothing can stand in its way. If you want to see a reptilian fold up, you focus the divine feminine on them, and they fold up very fast. They don't hang out. And that's one energy they just do not like. And these feline beings, I asked them, I said, how do you deal with these reptilian beings? And they said, oh, we just throw them down and rub their bellies. And they said, there's nothing they can do with us, So we have that kind of help available to us right now, and it is coming in. And for those that are ready for it, and it's available. But we have to set the intent and ask for it. So it's time for us all to set that intention. We want to reunite with these beautiful spiritually and technologically advanced beings, set boundaries and put it out there. And the more we do that, that intention is going to draw that. It's going to create that reality. And we also have to just hold our leadership to the universal principles that are necessary for a healthy society and environment, and just not go there. And what Laura was saying was amazing. I mean, some of these people we're getting that running for office, everybody goes, oh, it's going to be great to have a woman for president, and I go, well, show me one running. I want a grandmother in there. I want a grandmother that's lived, raised children. She won't send people off to war. She's wise. She's in touch with the feminine energy. That's what I want to see for president.
Thank you. Wow. Michael, where do you see it going? What's your integration here?
I see
A little closer.
I see it going. I see a new world being born. I see that. I'd like to see a world where, and of course, if I want to see it, I need to be it. A world where we're more comfortable with mystery. In the words of Kierkegaard, that life is not a problem to be solved; it's a mystery to be lived. I'd like to see people have more accountability, where we can admit to maybe being victimized but not victims. And because I found that, at least in my experience, human beings will give up almost everything. Their property, security, almost everything, for the need to be right. And so, I'm almost 60 years old, and I'm kind of getting it that, do I want to be right or do I want to be at peace? So I'm loving what these brothers and sisters are talking about. I want to see more how, because it would be hard to tell Freddie Gray's mother that we're going in a new dimension. We're going into a new paradigm. It's going to be hard to tell folk in Baltimore and in other places, and on that, if you just kind of love, and I'm for that, but I think we're going to have to show what would that love look like. What does justice look like? Otherwise, it's just platitudes. And so, and I'm not implying that that's what we're hearing, but when someone says, what does that look like? We got to have some answers. And so those for me are the promises, and those are the challenges as we go into this new world where we realize that we're not alone, and not only are we not alone, we've really never been alone.
And part of that, I think, is what you're saying. We need to be responsible. For ourselves, for each other, for, the prejudices that exist. Exactly. How are we going to meet and get along with some other beings if we're not getting along with each other? It's very basic that way. But, Rosemary, yeah. Dr. Peoples mentioned sort of cosmic laws. I think you mentioned that. In your work, there are greater cosmic laws that, in a way, that have been hidden from us. We've been brainwashed by media and television and religion and education to not be aware that there's these other truths that we can live by. So can you talk about that and how we can integrate that into a bigger worldview?
That is a good point that you raise, Alan, and it is a hazard out there right now. In fact, the vision that I hold for the future is what I call the interdimensional Earth as our next stage, and I'll be talking about that more tomorrow morning in a workshop. But it is an integration of our experiences, a raising collectively, both individually, which contributes to a collective, so we will have the collective raising of consciousness into higher vibrational areas, which that's going to expand our view of reality, and it will also spiritualize the body in many ways. So we will, on into the future, be undergoing physical changes as well. Now, a lot of that's going to depend upon how each one of us takes on our own responsibility individually. We have now before us, never before in history, the ability to have a global thought form in a nanosecond thanks to the internet and global media. And whether it's elation or fear, that an emotional response to any incident or proclamation can go around the planet and affect masses of people one way or the other. Well, you can imagine that the power structures on this earth are very interested in controlling that, and they do not want individuals to have their own power of decision making and thought and ability to raise their own consciousness. So I think we're going to be challenged with polarization of some of these forces seeking to manipulate us through global consciousness via the media. And I think we've been subjected to that many times already. An example, a recent example was last fall, prior to the elections here. All of a sudden the media was on fire about Ebola and that it was out of control. And the government didn't know what to do about it, and they were powerless and ineffectual, and all of a sudden we had these infected people running around that were going to put the population at large in jeopardy. And after the elections, it all dried up in an instant.
Yeah,
Where are these stories now? And that was a very good example of media manipulation of fear. So we really do have to pay attention to how we are responding to the news and influences that we are being subjected to. And when we have, one of the ways that you distract people is you get them addicted. And you can get them addicted through various ways, through pleasure, through gaming, through media, entertainment, through cell phones. And I'm now seeing increasing articles in the media about the pitfalls of cell phone addiction. And we're all vulnerable to that. We all like to play with our phones and stay in touch. They're very important. But there are people who become obsessed with their cell phones. They can't tear themselves away from their cell phones for more than 5 seconds. They can't do anything in a focused way. And that could be a manipulation that we might see increase in the future as a way of distracting people. So how are we being distracted? And I think we need to constantly pull ourselves back to center and remind ourselves of our sovereignty, our free will, and our responsibility that we have to undertake for ourselves to keep our spiritual consciousness focused in the highest level that we can, to pull ourselves up to the highest level that we can. And that is going to counteract some of those attempts at manipulation with a much more powerful global thought form, a united consciousness, which we here on the panel have already addressed about love. And it's easy to lose sight of that when you are bombarded by a lot of other influences. So a lot of challenges in the meantime. I'm very optimistic, however, about the future. And one thing about our experiences that I was talking about earlier, our extraordinary experiences, they change us. And even though we might come to terms with them, on some people in a much slower way, some people in a rapid way, when we share our experiences, read about them, get them validated on whatever level, we are changed by that. And when we are changed individually, that changes us collectively. So this kind of experience that puts us in touch with other intelligences, other entities, higher levels of consciousness, we do really have to embrace those as much as we can so that we can be changed personally and collectively as well. And that's going to be the way that we will ride into a future that actually will even go beyond the interdimensional Earth. These are visions that the great mystics of history have had in the past. Sri Aurobindo has talked about it. Various other masters have talked about how spiritualized consciousness will change us also physically and change the nature of reality. And how fast that happens is going to depend on each and every one of us.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. As you're talking, I was getting the vision of we're being upgraded now. You know how your computer has to reinstall an upgraded version. So this is what we're doing. Actually, collectively here, we're being upgraded. We're installing the ET program. We're uninstall war. We're installing greed. You know, getting that out of the system. And so I think we are changing. And let's go around one more time with like the thing I'm interested in is, what does the upgraded human look like? So we talked about worldviews, but what do we at this new level appear? How do we share? How do we be?
Well, that's extraordinary. That I talked this morning a bit about, and I want to share it with the larger group here, that when just after I'd gone up to law school from the college in Boston, that the chairman of the longtime chairman of the Department of Intellectual History at Harvard University, Dr. Crane Brinton, was going to be delivering his very last lecture after 35 years of being the chair at Harvard. And he was asked to address the single most important intellectual insight that our human family had come to, that he had encountered in all of this time. And he got up in front of the assembled group of people who come from all around the world to hear this final lecture. And he said, I believe that the most important intellectual insight that's been come to by our human family is easy to identify. He said that the greatest minds in our human family have all come to understand that our human family is right on the very brink of the next biological step in evolution in our history. And that the faculty that is going to be the key to this next step in our evolution is a faculty like seeing or hearing, but it's a faculty by means of which we can each directly, experientially encounter the unitive phenomenon that bonds every single ultimately irreducible integer of matter in the entire physical cosmos into one unified harmonic whole. And by dint of this experience, each person is thereby capable of learning and experiencing what type of human conduct, either individual or collective, is either in harmony with or disharmonious to the natural order of the universe. And he turned and he said, and I think that we're right on the very brink of this manifesting in our human family. And this was on December 20th of 1967. And he said, and that's why I believe so many of you young men here have refused to go fight in this war in Vietnam. So he was very clear about this, in that that I believe, sincerely, after all the years of studying this, that this is the secret. The secret is that we've been going through this experience over these past several thousand years of the evolution of this new faculty. And that various people have had experiences of it, encounters with it, and yet we don't yet have the vocabulary by means of which to describe it. And so that the entire different kind of religious sects and different rituals and different stimuli for it, whether it be ayahuasca or DMT or other types or meditation. The fact is that it's an open secret. The avatars, the people who have been the biological mutations that have flashed into existence and found themselves, like all potential mutations in biology, have found themselves in an environment that is not yet accepting of them, and so that therefore they don't survive. But the fact is that it keeps on happening, that I believe there's an inner engine to this evolutionary phenomenon. It's being drawn up like phototropism. It's being drawn up into full manifestation, just like sight was in response to the stimuli of light, like hearing was in our living beings in response to the stimuli of sound. That this unitive phenomenon that bonds the entire universe together is experienced as love, as harmony, as the rhythms of nature. This is what's happening. It's a biological faculty, and the fact is that the civilizations out in other star systems that have had 1 million or billion years of additional time to evolve know this. And so that what we have to do is we have to embrace this process, listen to the prophets and the visionaries of the past that have explained to us how to go about accelerating this process, taking responsibility for stimulating and facilitating the rapid evolution of this new faculty in our human family, and to develop an entire new set of spiritual principles to understand that that's what this is that's going on here. And so that's what I think is happening, and I think that there will be physiological changes, obviously, in our human species to accommodate this new step in evolution, but it's primarily this other faculty. And I believe that while this is the next step, the sixth faculty, the big sixth sense that is being talked about, that there is in fact a full octave of these, which are available to us, just like you see with the light. Of the different spectrums of light, of the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. That the sounds of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That these are there's a harmonic. There's an octave in reality that our human family is growing into. So that this is the next step for us, but we have to go to a full octave of evolution in order, I believe, that when the 8th chakra opens in our human family, we will discover that it is the root chakra of the next whole octave of reality, and that's what the ETs represent.
Thank you, Danny.
And picking up right along there, one of the most interesting human abduction cases involved a detective in the state of Washington. That's what he's done his whole career for like 27 years. He's been a detective. So he's grounded in hard reality, but he's had interactions with various types of beings. And he has come away from his experience of being shown a very complex three-dimensional hologram in which it was a Nordic type of being was projecting symbols and telepathy into his head as he was seeing this hologram, and it all had to do with when we are trying to interact and work with a planet, we have learned that it is better to try to work through different timelines and with genetics so that we are interacting at the level of what we would call the sperm and the egg in genetics that creates a baby. And after doing a series of interviews